G'day everybody. Well, for today's bit of computer fun, we're going to be fitting the AMD Athlon mainboard into a new case. I may have featured this in the same video as I did with this when I originally powered it up, but this was an old Core i5 Intel. It's I don't know what the case is made by, it just looks like a generic Windows one, but anyway, unfortunately this computer, when I found it, it was working alright, but it's got the curse of the nothingness now, which is basically where you turn it on, plug it in and everything to a monitor, you turn it on and it'll run the fans, and that's about it. It won't boot to the monitor at all, it won't show anything on it. Basically it dies, so I'm going to be ripping this board out and the power supply and everything and the CD-ROM drives and fitting a bit of retro XP tech to it. Since this board still works, that one doesn't, so that one's coming out, and or I might nuke it on a mod or something if I get time, but yeah, we're basically going to fit this into a nice clean case, which this thing's been in storage for a fair bit. It's had not been used much, there's no dust or corrosion in it. I've had a couple of packets of silica gel in it just to protect against corrosion, since living in a timber house with things like this, you do get a bit of humidity. But anyway, first thing to do is clear out this case and get it ready to get the new board in. Okay, well, there's the case largely stripped down. I've got the old board out and everything, which we'll have a look at in a minute. I'm also going to take the front cover off and actually get the micro switches out of this so I can actually put my new ones in. Oh yeah, and if you're wondering what this is, it's an anti-static strap. I highly recommend you do wear one if you do work with computers that you don't want to destroy, as in I'm only messing around with just junk machines off the roadside, but I still want them to work, so always wear one of those if you're working on a really expensive machine. Anyway, this is so much lighter without all that heavy stuff in it. I literally lift it up with the tip of a pinky. Yeah, here's our main board. It's just a gigabit. It's got a Core i7, I believe, not a Core i7, a Core i5 in it. At least that's what the sticker that was on the front panel said. Might actually take the heatsink off later on and just have a look, since I've actually just used some Meccano cap screws to put that on, since the original, you know, if you've worked on an Intel processor, you'll know those really annoying switch lock connectors that hold the heatsink on, how much of a pain in the ass they are. Well, I basically took all of those off and just custom fitted the heatsink onto it. That's actually held it really good. But yeah, I don't believe that RAM's EDO. It doesn't look like the stuff that's on this one. Yeah, that's with a bit of luck, I may actually be able to save another computer that I've got, which, if you may remember, that IPEX one that also had an Intel processor in it. I may be able to save that if this is the correct RAM, because that does not look like the EDO, the standard stuff. Anyway, we'll take the heatsinks off this and just have a look at what's underneath it. That'll be the chipset. I'm not sure what that does, but it's the heatsink on that got extremely hot, like to the point where you could melt bloody plastic and stuff on it. But yeah, let's get these heatsinks off and just have a look at what each of these processors do. Well, I've got the heatsinks off, which is fairly straightforward. You just got the little split pins holding them on. Yeah, it's a fairly big heavy one for the chipset. I've never seen them that thick before on the base. But this thing did get pretty hot when it was running, so it's sort of understandable. It's interesting, some of these Intel heatsinks have actually got a copper core in the center of them. I've never really seen that on any other computer heatsinks. As in that one's just got a straight box heatsink, I suppose you call it. Just one of those square ones. It's got the solid alley base, built like that. Just a bit bigger and with the fan on. But anyway, I was actually wrong about this being an i5. It's actually a Core 2 quad, 2.66 gigahertz. So this thing did have a fair bit of power to it, as in it was a really fast computer, but It's just pity that something's died on the board. Either the chipset's gotten too hot or something, and it's just given up the ghost. But, I'll definitely be hanging on to that. So same with some of these heatsinks and things. But, there's our chipset, which had some numbers on, but I can't see them because I kept touching it. I hate it when I do that. It's, I know it's going to be out of focus. Oh look, you can see the fume extractor. Get a focus, there we go. Not sure if you can see that because of the light, but in fact I can hardly see that myself. I can see an IE 281 or something like that. It's very small. One thing I might actually try with this, since this is a scrap board, is get the heat gun out and have a go at actually removing these chips, because you can actually get them off using a heat gun since they're all surface mount. They're yeah, I've actually done it with the old eMac board. In fact, I was actually able to get the processor off of that just by blowing over it with a heat gun till it gets hot, and you just give it a good rap with a screwdriver and the whole processor comes off. Not full focus, I don't know why it's gone all blurry like that, but anyway. I suppose the next thing to do for now is clear all this off and get the case ready to get its new board in.